Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
Very good evening to you all. Hope you're all well this Sunday evening. Slightly later than usual, but I'm kind of delighted we were on slightly later than usual because what a day we've had. The two Edinburgh clubs progressed into the quarterfinals with an extraordinary day yesterday, and the big result in Ayrshire as Kilmarnock beat Celtic 1-0. Regan, how are we?
I'm not bad, Dave. How are you? Big day, like you said, Sunday
I'm very
night.
well, very well.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with a big result, or do you want to start with the two Edinburgh clubs?
We have to start with a big result. Regan, take it away.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting a kind of result like that today, Dave. I've been saying the past few weeks that I wasn't impressed with the squad and what they were trying to do. I was at the Ross County game. They conceded 2 goals against a team that was almost relegated last season. I thought Kilmarnock did well against Rangers, so I thought going into the game, Derek McInnes would have them well set up. He would nullify Celtic's threat in behind. But one thing I did think as well, Dave, was the past record of Brendan Rodgers at Rugby Park. People forget that Brendan has lost quite a few games at Rugby Park. He's lost 2. Previous to that, he's lost one where Stuart Finlay scored in the last minute to put Kilmarnock 2-1 ahead. He also lost one where Mullenboo scored a last minute winner to win 1-0. And he lost again today. But you have to say fair play to Derek McInnes in that. But I thought Kilmarnock actually strolled the game, to be honest, because there wasn't many points in the game where I thought Celtic were a big threat. I mean, from a Celtic point of view, don't know about yourself, Dave, but you expect Celtic to create quite a few chances. But I thought throughout the game they didn't really look as if they were going to score. I think they could have played to Pancake Tuesday and no scored. I think the biggest problem for me is, Dave, was I said this to the group chat as well, is you looked at the bench today and you thought, who can they bring on to change the game? I'll take you back to Brendan Rodgers' first spell. So on the bench for Brendan Rodgers in his first spell, they had players like Stuart Armstrong, Patrick Roberts, Tom Rogic. They had also players like
Where's that?
They'd also Lee Griffiths. I mean, that's just a few players, Dave. And then also players like Charlie Masonda. You had loads of players that could change football match. But I'm sitting on the bench today and I'm going, who can change the match? You had Bernabe. You had the 2 new signings who you can't really put too much pressure on, Dave, because nobody really knows them. And it's Scottish football. You know how difficult it can be, Scottish football. So you're not really expecting things from them. You'd see that Blanovic, who is well known within the media circle, that said Brown doesn't fancy him and he wants away. Thought he came on and did okay. But I still think that Celtic need to improve that squad. But going back to Kilmarnock, I think Derek McInnes has done a fantastic job. He's beat Rangers first day of the season, and then he also drew at Tynecastle, which is a notorious difficult place to go. And then you play Celtic. So no, I think from that point of view, it was a very, very good day for Kilmarnock.
Do you think Brendan Rodgers knows his best 11? But also alongside that, Regan, how many players and where does Brendan Rodgers need to get players in? And this isn't exactly knee-jerk as such, but you look at it today and say to yourself, he can't accept that because, let's be honest, the Messiah that is Ange Postecoglou was renowned for obviously doing very, very well domestically with Celtic. His black mark was the European level. Brendan Rodgers will be judged, yes, on winning things domestically, but he'll also be judged in Europe as well because his first time at Celtic, his European record wasn't the best.
Yeah, Dave, and that's something that something you touched on their European record. Now, if Celtic are struggling against Ross County and Kilmarnock, they're going to struggle against Barcelona. Now, I know for a fact, Dave, right? Loads of Celtic fans listen to this programme, and those guys will go and they'll buy their Champions League package. But see if you tell them that playing right back will be Anthony Ralston, who was in Brendan Rodgers' last squad back in 2015. They'll be like, we need upgrades. We need upgrades because, like, Dave, you cover Dundee football. And you've been to St Johnson as well. You'll know that Tony Ralston, he one good season for Ange Postecoglou, which was the first season Ange came in. But in terms of last season, he didn't play too much. And then you look at his past record. He played for St Johnson and he struggled to get into a Dundee United team. So I really don't know. I want to ask you a quick question, Dave. Do you think the fact that Celtic are winning all these trebles is unmasking the problem? Do you think the trebles has been part of the problem where Celtic are winning the trebles, but I think the real issue here is, Dave, that Celtic, to improve in Europe, need to improve because sadly, I like David Turnbull, but David Turnbull became a big player under Brendan Rodgers. David Turnbull wasn't even in the squad last year for Ange Postecoglou.
I made this point to somebody, and I'm going to touch upon Turnbull just this minute in time. Turnbull, let's be honest, is a man that's been resuscitated from the death under Brendan Rodgers. Brendan knows how he plays. And Postecoglou, don't get me wrong, David Turnbull's a fantastic player. We've seen that for both club and country. But the way Ange plays probably hindered David Turnbull both in terms of club and country, just in the sense of the way Ange Postecoglou plays, but also his system was renowned in terms of the players he had, the system he implemented. He had a tried and trusted approach. David Turnbull was never going to knock at the door and get a place in the team. So that's where that one was standing at. But I think when you look at the Celtic side, I mean, there's still a long way to go. But for me, the next Glasgow Derby answers a lot of questions for me. Does today give Celtic that inferior that they're like, oh, right, okay, it's a slip up away, decent enough outfit? And when I say decent, I mean that in terms of the way Derek McInnes sets up his teams. Yeah. Or does this hinder Celtic, and do Celtic and Rangers go nip and tuck in terms of neither of them are completely at full strength yet, neither of them are firing all cylinders yet, and neither of them are finding their feet yet. The Glasgow Derby for me in a fortnight answers so many questions for me, because we'll come back to the Celtic in a minute, Regan, but you look at all the sides in the league at this precise minute in time. Celtic, still a bit of TLC. Rangers, not exactly convincing, papering over the cracks, in my honest opinion. Yes. Aberdeen, decent enough in terms of performance-wise. However, still a bit of TLC, especially defensively. Hibs, well, Wade Johnson, that's your simple answer with that. Hearts, good victory in Thursday night, but exactly the same time, you're looking at Hearts and you're saying to yourself, you've yet to be convinced. And then the bottom six, apart from St Mirren to an extent, takes care of itself. If you're going to ask me who the team of the season so far, Vegan, is, it's either St Mirren or Kilmarnock. And that leaves a lot to be desired for Scottish football.
Yeah, I don't think it's been the best standard so far. But going back on your question earlier, I think the whole you're asking me how many players that you expected something to bring in. I think the whole.
36.
Say that again, Dave. Sorry, you broke up there.
I'm sorry. I'm saying I think they need six, at least six.
I'm struggling to hear you, Dave.
Oh, sorry. It's okay. I'm saying I think they need at least five or six.
Yeah, 5 or 6. I think the problem for these squads is that we know that money is tight in Scottish football. Dave, but I think I don't see the point in bringing Brendan Rodgers back in to then say to him, "You get to work who you get to work with." I want to ask you a question, right? What did you take from the Brendan Rodgers press conference on Friday, right? Because he said something that really struck with me, and no one seems to have mentioned it apart from myself. He said, the club bring in the players and I coach.
Sorry, Regan, I think I've cut what you said again. Sorry.
I'm saying, what did you make of the comments that Brendan Rodgers said on Friday in terms of the board bringing the players that he coaches them? I thought that was a bit strange from Brendan to say that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you agree with me here, and you've maybe made the point yourself. Obviously, I haven't been in a lot of shows with you so far this season, but when you look at Brendan Rodgers, was it a bit of a panic from the Celtic board? And when I say panic, I mean it in the terminology of, right, our pal Ange Postecoglou's left. We need to avoid an Eddie Howe scenario. Let's get Brendan Rodgers in, and let's try and not not create a popularity contest with Celtic fans, but let's try and get something where we've got somebody in that we know that is familiar to us and all that kind of stuff. Hashbury Symbol came in, by the way, and questioned my 6U players. I don't know if 6 is the correct number, but I've just put a parameter out there. Do you think they need more than 6? And go back on your question, sorry. I think with regards to Brendan, I think that just signals where they're at right now. Because let's be honest, today just signifies, as you've alluded to, that they're nowhere near the side they were. Let's be honest, in the last 3 or 4 years. Maybe Lennon's teams were a bit of a exception to this, but take Lennon out of the equation here, they're nowhere near the sides they were in the last 5 or 6 years.
No, and I'm not being negative for saying that. I'm just watching what I'm seeing with my eyes, Dave. And I think the problem is that although the squad is working towards what Brendan's doing, I think someone that's even not looked as good this season as Callum McGregor. I think he's looked very tired, very sluggish. And I think I think if you're a Celtic fan, you should definitely be a little bit worried. I'll take you to the second half of the game. Celtic never had a shot on target in that second half.
Definitely, absolutely. That just goes to show you how things prevailed for Celtic this afternoon. I mean, you could argue the VAR decision that led to Kilmarnock's goal and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, across 90 minutes, it was a better team, Kilmarnock.
Yeah, they were. And going back to your question, I would probably say Celtic need a goalkeeper because Joe Hart's not been up to it. They need a left back because I liked Greg Taylor last year because of the inverted fullbacks that Ange Postecoglou was playing. But I want to get your thing on this. Do you think Greg Taylor suits the Brendan Rodgers system? Because again today, I think he loses the ball quite a lot, Graham. Dave, sorry. I think he loses the ball quite a lot.
It's okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. See where Ange, Greg Taylor's attributes were going forward. There wasn't a defending trait to it. His defending trait was a little bit irrelevant because his defending side of the game, that wasn't really his responsibility. The responsibility defensively for Celtic under Ange Postecoglou was more Carter, Vickers, Starfelt, Ralston to a certain as well.
Johnson, yeah.
Not specifically Johnson as well, sorry, yeah. Not specifically for Greg Taylor. See it time and time again how he got a lot of goals under Ange Postecoglou. I'd argue that his best period in his career will be under Ange Postecoglou. I'd argue that I'm not trying to say his career will decline, but his overall standard will decline. That's because they're two different there's two different systems altogether. And it's not because of Greg Taylor, the individual, it's because of Celtic in terms of how they played. For Greg Taylor to benefit from what he got under Ange, he'd probably have to move on elsewhere. I doubt he would move on anytime soon because, let's be honest, we're under who's this? Because somebody's trying to text me. Under Ange, he obviously got a lot of joy, but with Brendan, there's just a different feel to it altogether. So, yeah, I just feel that Greg Taylor, if he stays at Celtic, would decline, but he would need to move on.
And I think if you look at it in the midfield as well, I think they need a few midfield players because you look at the drop off when Rio Hatate wasn't playing today and he wasn't playing last week. I mean, Brendan played Turnbull last week, now he treats it right back. But you just look at the difference that Rio Hatate definitely has on that squad. And the other thing that I think that the board need to do as well is bring two strikers because you can't rely on Kyogo. If O's going to be out for 8 weeks, you can't rely on Kyogo. What happens if Kyogo picks up one injury? Who's Celtic going to play against Rangers? They've not got anyone.
Just before I answer that old question, Regan, is Satati wanted to say?
I'm not sure, Dave, because the whole reason I think that Brendan didn't play Hatate in the first day of the season was because I think Hatate wants away. Because remember when Celtic went to Japan, Hatate spoke about the dream of playing in a different league, of playing in the Premier League. So I think overall I would say that he is looking elsewhere. I think Brendan would want to keep him because of his technical ability.
Yeah, but my prerogative on this is if a player's unsettled, such as potentially Hatate, we don't know if this is true, but if he is unsettled, why play him?
Well, he didn't play in the first 2 games, which says to me that Brendan's unsure about him, and I think that's probably the reason why he didn't play Starfelt the first matches either, because he knew Starfelt was going to go.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah, absolutely. On you go. Sorry.
I think when you watched that game last week, you could clearly see that Aberdeen were running the midfield, Dave. And then he decided to bring on Hatate because he thought Aberdeen are becoming quite physical, and David Turnbull was being a little bit passive in his attempts to block. And I thought he obviously thought, we'll bring on Real here to try and stop the wave of attack Aberdeen were having, because Aberdeen did a great job through Aidan Clarkson as well to make it a draw.
See, in terms of our perspective, Regan, I'm gutted we got Celtic as early as last week. I'd have liked us to have had Celtic potentially 5 or 6 games later down the line, because had we done that, I'd have had a better barometer on both sides. I don't think we were ready to have a right good go at Celtic last week. And Celtic obviously just had the bit between their teeth and enough resilience about them to see themselves over the line. Let's be honest, probably if you were asking me who was the better side, it was probably Aberdeen, but I don't think we were. I think we were a bit naive in terms of our overall aggression, both on and off the ball. Hasperi Stumble comes here and says, if he wants away, I'll just go and get the thing up here. It's been a bit. Anyway, I'll come up in a bit. It's not coming up, but it says if he wants away, he should want to play at his best to attract bids from down south. And that should be the case for every Celtic player, because only it should be a honour and a privilege to play for Celtic, as it would be for Rangers as well, of course. And if you're not playing to your full potential, then your Premier League clubs, your foreign clubs, Saudi Arabian clubs, yes, we're throwing Saudi Arabian clubs into the equation here because of the money spent nowadays. They would be knocking at the door for players coming in. Just look at Fashion Sakala, for instance. Not exactly an all-rounded player as such, but Fashion Sakala shows glimpses and suddenly gets that move to Saudi Arabia.
I think you're spot on there, David. And I think you're right, because Fashion Takar is a great example. The only thing I would say about Rio Tati is, see, in the modern day world of agents and clubs, the way that it works, Steve, is, see, before the bid even gets to the club, they will phone the player and say, "Are you interested?" Because what they do, Dave, is they say, so they'll phone the player up and say, "See, if we put a bid in of 20 million, will you be interested in coming?" That is the way that modern football manages to work itself. So maybe during the Japan,
I know that. I know the overall system.
yeah, so maybe during the Japan,
no, totally.
yeah, I was just going to say, maybe during the Japan tour, he's got a phone call, let's say from Brighton, to say, "Look, we're going to get rid of Caicedo. Chelsea, would you be interested?" That's maybe where he's went, "Oh, I would be interested, but then no bids come in yet." Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Let's go to Kilmarnock, because we've spoken about Celtic for the last 20 minutes, but God, Kilmarnock does have a good mention, because, as you said, notoriously good draw at Hearts, beat the Rangers, beat Celtic today. The sky's the limit for Killie just now.
Yeah, Dave, I think Derek
Really good
McInnes
genre,
has
by the way.
done a fantastic job uh, since he's been there. But I think, especially this season, he's gone back to his old ways that he was doing it when he was up at your club, Aberdeen. He was getting results off the big top six clubs, and fair play to him. I like Dees in the defence. I think Dees is a good player. I like I like Mayo as
So
well.
you've got Graham Duffy.
Yes, Graham. Can't cheer me up.
All right, lads, how's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Not
Good.
bad, mate, not bad.
Nice to see you.
Joined us in the nick of time, because we've literally just went on and spoke about Derek McInnes, the holy messiah that he is.
I mean, what a job he's done so far. That result today probably wasn't a massive surprise. They've been very good defensively. Came to Tynecastle last week, were very solid. A real like Stuart Finlay. Robbie Dees looks a really good signing as well. They've got a threat going forward as well. Marley Watkins gets the goal today. I've already said in one of another podcasts that I've done, they're my unexpected package this season. They look very impressive. Fair play to McInnes. He's done a cracking job, and he'll fancy his chances in the next round as well at Hope Hearts. So it's a difficult game, but to be fair, they've done fantastic so far.
Yeah, I think in terms of League Cup,
Yeah, Regan, I'll let you continue.
No, I was just going to say, Derek McInnes, fantastic job he's done. He's carried on his good work for Aberdeen. He's a very good manager. I mean, what he manages to do on a small budget is tremendous. I mean, some of the players he's managed to get there. Even I know Matty Kennedy didn't do that great at Aberdeen. I know he didn't score that many goals, but his performances he's put in against Rangers and Celtic have been brilliant. And even Marley Watkins, he ended a few seasons ago, like 3 or 4 years ago. Marley Watkins did really well. So no, I'm impressed with him. But like I said, Celtic have been an absolute shambles at the start of this season.
Yeah. As for obviously Marley Watkins, see, because various different personalities, including managers and all that kind of thing, he just wasn't my cup of tea at Aberdeen. Well, no, I'll take that back. He was my. That's where it went a bit gung ho as far as Watkins is concerned, but I think you're realising now that the potential he has, play him in the correct positions, give him a bit of freedom, and he'll do just a job for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he's done very well so far. Even last week when he came to play against Hearts, he made some decent runs, but didn't really get a lot of the ball. But I think Watkins is a good player. He's a good signing for Kilmarnock, and I think they have signed very well this season. For me, still one of the best players they've got is Daniel Armstrong. I just think he brings so much to that side. He's a really creative player. I like Matty Kennedy as well, a really good signing as well. I'm really impressed with the job McInnes has done. I wasn't overly impressed last season, and I said that a few times last season that I thought they were going to be in trouble last season. But the job we've done so far, I think Marley Watkins could be a real spearhead for them. And I genuinely think they could be I don't know if they finish top 6 this season. They might just finish outside it. But you know what? There's no reason they couldn't be top 6 because they look a very strong side just now.
Oh, totally. Ricky, was you going to come in here?
Yeah, I think there will be a surprise package come on. I think they'll be pushing for Europe because from what I've seen for the rest of the league, I'm not overly impressed with the rest of the league. I think Rangers look bang average. Celtic don't look too much. As we spoke about earlier, I don't know the Hearts. Seeing them in Europe in Thursday, I was impressed with them there. But yeah, that's greatness as well, right? Because there's been a few links with Shankland to Saudi. Do you think that's going to happen, Graham?
Who's Shankland?
Aye.
Nah, I don't think so. And I don't think he wants to leave either. He said numerous times that he's not going anywhere. And again, he's so important to us now. That's 32 goals he scored for Hearts in total since he's been here. He's irreplaceable for me. I think if we're going to sell him, and I don't think we will, but if we're going to sell him, I would reckon between 4.5 to 5 million. Any less than that, no chance. But I've already said as well that we can't sell him in the next 2 weeks. My worry is that the Saudi market doesn't close to the end of September. If he goes after our window closes, we can't replace him. So that's a worry, but I don't think he's going to leave.
Yeah, have you been impressed with Hearts this season, Graham?
Yeah.
I've got to admit, I've not seen much of them, but I think the overall standard of the Scottish League this year is went down. I mean, I've watched Lee Johnson's side. It's like watching Marmite 1 week. They're great. 1 week they're no. You've got St Johnson. St Johnson. I think the new kid for them. So, have you been impressed with your team this season so far?
I think we've been all right so far. It's very early in the season, but we started all right. And I thought, last week against Kilmarnock wasn't a great game. I thought Kilmarnock stifled us very well. We didn't do enough. I'm impressed with the new signings we've got. Frankie Kent looks really good. The guys that played today were decent. I really like the guy, Odell O'Fire, who scored today as well. The guy who's got his first goal. And I think it's going to take time for these players to gel. And on Thursday night, I was really impressed with what we did. Because when we went 1-0 down, I thought, this game's done. But to come back the way we did, and we've got a big squad now. We made 6 changes today, and it didn't kind of make a lot of difference. We'll get to the shortly, but we're very comfortable. I think there's a long way to go, but I genuinely believe this, and I've said this numerous times as well, and I will stick to this. I genuinely think Hearts have got the third best squad out with the Old Firm, and I think that Aberdeen playing in European football, group stage football, will stifle them. I'm not overly impressed with Hibs so far, so I think Hearts have got every chance to finish third. And as well, and I'll lay this on the table as well, and I've said this on another podcast as well, I've tipped Hearts to win the League Cup. It's difficult because Kilmarnock away is not easy, but I'm impressed with the side we've got now. It looks quite strong.
I thought you were going to see the league up there. I was going to say you got a chance after watching Celtic and Rangers the last 2 days. Tell you?
I wouldn't quite go that far. I would love to, but I wouldn't quite go that far yet.
I would agree best of Hearts are the best squad, and that's coming from me being an Aberdeen fan because based on what I've seen on Friday night, obviously I didn't see the game, I've seen the highlights. And, I mean, as much as we've got a lot of joy in the final third there with Clarkson and Miowski, Slovac and Duke, obviously, we do look a bit vulnerable defensively. Rhys Williams isn't match fit yet. He played against Peterhead in the SPFL Trust Trophy through the week, and by all accounts, still needs a bit more fitness. Struggling very much big time defensively.
What about the guy McDonald and Pollock? Are they both? See the guy McDonald.
McDonald and Pollock. Yeah, McDonald and Pollock. I think they are both injured at this precise moment in time, as is the guy Williams. So, yeah, I don't think we should be going a game against Hacker with potentially Jack McKenzie and perhaps Williams or perhaps Devlin. So, think there's a lot for Barry Robson to get his teeth into. There's a lot of ice baths because there'll be a lot of players to dress up in cotton wool this week prior to the game coming up this Thursday. So, yeah, I think it's going to be rather interesting. But, yeah, I just think the Hearts got a bit between their teeth just now. And let's be honest, Xander Clark's obviously done very, very well in the Hearts goal, but exactly at the same time, I think Craig Gordon will have a spring in his step when he comes back as well. And Craig Gordon will be like a new signing for Hearts. And I know it's the goalkeeper position, that's one position within 11 players in the park, but exactly at the same time, I think Craig Gordon will provide that bit of stability. Because Xander Clark, as much as he's a very good shot stopper, he's not got the presence of Craig Gordon, and that's where I think him coming back could be massively influential as far as Hearts are concerned for that third place position. But we're half an hour in, so we better get on to Tynecastle. And Graham, you were there, very comfortable performance. Partick maybe a little bit abject to a certain extent, but for Hearts, job done, into the quarters.
Yeah, sorry, Halfbury, but Partick Thistle were dreadful. I were expecting a really tough game today. After Thursday night, we put a lot into that game. We did make 6 changes, but I've been impressed with Partick last season, and I thought they were going to offer more of a threat. Today, they were never in it. You know, they sat very deep. They only had Brian Graham up front. They tried to frustrate us, and we got the early goal, an own goal from Brian Graham from a corner kick. And then I thought, we'll win this game comfortably, like 5 or 6, quite easy. To be fair, Partick, tried to frustrate us, and then we got the second goal through a fire, another goal from a corner kick, great header as well. And at 2-0 up and cruising, you're thinking, right, surely Partick can come out second half, have more of a go and really try and get at us. Never happened. They make a mistake in the second half. Shanklin capitalises, and when Shanklin's through on goal, he's never going to miss. Great finish as well. And then Tagawa wraps it up. Delighted for him to get his first goal. And it was just a very comfortable day. I expected more from Partick Thistle, but it was just very comfortable. They offered nothing going forward. Clark had nothing to do. Again, I'm starting to get the sense now that Frankie Kent and Kai Rolls have got a really good partnership at the back. Now they look really solid now. And I've not been a massive fan of Rolls recently, but I think he's come on again now. Midfield, we played Toby Sibic in there alongside Callum Neuenhoff, and they did okay. But I was really, really impressed with Alex Lowry. I thought he was excellent. He made a big difference today. He just finds that space. He's not the quickest, but he's intelligent. He finds that space, links the play. Him and Barry Mackay were really good. And it was just exactly what I would hope for. Get through, no fuss. That's what we got. But Partick Thistle were very, very poor.
Yeah. Regan, for Hearts, they had to make sure there was no hangover for Thursday. That's exactly how it proved to be. It would have been very easy, and Graham will bring you into this as well. It would have been very easy for Hearts to have had a hangover after Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, it would have. Yeah, in terms of that goals game, I thought they did really well to recover in terms of going that one goal down early on, because it was a great save with Xander Clark, and then they managed to get back in the game through Shanklin. But hopefully that'll give them the confidence for the rest of the season, because, like Graham was saying, I think they've got a talented squad there. It's just a case of hoping that they go through again on Thursday, because they'll be. I don't know if they've got the squad depth. Graham will tell me. I think that was one of the things that happened to them last year was they get Craig Halkett, Atkinson, Rolls, all these players got injured during the European run, and that really hampered the league as well. So I remember a point where Hearts were doing okay in Europe, but then it affected the league form because a lot of the players were getting injured. I remember Boyce got injured in Europe as well, and then that really hampered them as well. So it's a catch-22 really, because you want to do well in Europe, but you also need that squad. That's why I spoke about with Celtic earlier. Celtic are one injury away from an absolute crisis. They do not want to go into Ibrox Stadium with just Kyogo as a striker. And that's the same with Hearts. They need squad depth, because as I spoke about last Friday, we need the coefficient to go up, so that because the Rangers European run goes off this season, we need we need teams to pick up points and pick up points quickly, because if they don't, then I think we'll be going back to the old to the old 4 qualifiers again, and we certainly don't want that.
Yeah. Graham, you can elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do have more squad depth now. We had 11 subs on the bench on Thursday, sorry. We made 6 changes today, and we didn't even have Atkinson, we didn't have Oda, we didn't have Benny, we didn't have Haring, we still not got Craig Halkett, we still not got Craig Gordon. So we've got plenty of players to come back, but we've now got a much better, and I think bigger squad. I do think by the time the window shuts, there'll be a couple of players leaving. I think George Grant might leave, because again, he was on the bench. I think if he got on today, you're playing Toby Civic and Neuenhoff in midfield, where Grant meant to play. I think he'll leave because he's not getting game time. I think a couple of youngsters will leave. We've already spoken about the fact that Connor Smith might leave. There might be another couple of younger ones as well. But I think, you make a good point, Reagan. The squad depth last season wasn't good enough. Hearts have fixed that now. It's a much better squad and a much bigger squad. And I think as well, what I really like as well, and one thing that Hearts get criticised for, and I've done it myself, is not bringing through young players. And then you've got young Aidan Denham, starts on Thursday, was outstanding, and he comes off the bench today, and again, looked very good. So I think we are looking really, really strong. It's a very long season. We've got PA OK on Thursday, which will be Duff Kane, they're a decent side. Yeah. Then we're away to Dundee. There's a lot of games to play, and I think that squad is going to be utilised. But I'm happy with it. I think it's like, for the first time in a long time, I'm actually happy with the squad we've got. It looks really good. There is more depth, and you talk about the fact that, like, if Shankland or Boyce are injured, well, we've now got Tagawa and we've got Vargas there as well. So we've got far more options now, which is what we needed.
You've got a bigger squad than Celtic.
Yeah, I think, it does look like a much bigger squad.
Sorry, Chris Stewart passes Honeyman.
Yeah, probably, Dave, because although it was great last season, obviously I don't know if they're probably still suffering from not going up. But also we need to bear in mind that Partick Thistle they've not got loads of money. They're probably bringing in more young players as well. Am I right in saying that Ross Docherty, one of the best players, has moved to Dundee United? Is that right?
Yeah, he's the captain now.
Yeah, he's moved to Dundee United. So he was one of the better players. Also, you've got Scott Tiffany, who moved across the road in Dundee. So that's 2 of the best players that have left. And sometimes if you're a low league club, like, although for Hearts Aberdeen, maybe not losing one player can be a big deal. But for these smaller clubs in lower leagues, it can be a big deal, because Scott Tiffany got Partick Thistle. He got them a lot of big challenges last season, and he was the real main man for them.
Yeah, because see, when you look at Partick, did such a good relationship last year. You look at the fact that they lost Tiffany and lost Docherty. They have lost that steel in the middle of the park. They've still got a bit of creativity to go and surprise teams, and they've got a tough run of games coming up in terms of both the championship and in terms of what happened after today. So does today just signify where Partick Thistle at right now? Need a lot of TLC.
Yeah, I think so. I was genuinely surprised by how poor they were. Hashbury says Tiffany was his favourite player. He was a great player, but they do still have guys like Fitzpatrick. They've got Stephen Lawless, they've got Brian Graham, but they didn't really get enough. They didn't get on the ball today. Lawless he couldn't get involved in the game. Hearts kind of stifled him a lot, but they just couldn't get involved in the game. And I think last season not coming up and how they did it as well, to be 20 minutes away from coming up and not getting through must still be really gutting for that squad. I think Dula's done a great job. They've made it about that. And, a game like today maybe is not going to be the be-all and end-all of the season. They'll be looking to get promoted. But it's just a massive letdown from today. To be fair, there was a lot of Partick fans of that game today. made a lot of noise. Fair play to them, they were excellent. But their team just didn't give them anything to shout about. They played Brian Graham up front, and he was just isolated. All they did was play long balls to him, which Rolls and Kent just dealt with all day. There was no really, maybe about 5 minutes in the first half, they had a bit of possession, but did nothing with it. They will have much, much bigger tests now, after that game today. They're not going to be too down about today because it was Hearts at Tynecastle, but I just thought they'd offer more. I thought they would be a lot more up for this, especially after we played on Thursday. And you're thinking, potential banana skin. I thought they'd been better, but they were just very, very poor.
Yep. What good parts to take out of today? Because when you look at the game in total consideration here, Graham and Regan, we'll start with Regan first. It's 4-0. It's a professional performance. It's a non-banana skin. And for Hearts, it's about getting some much-needed confidence and momentum prior to what's a big 11-day period coming up for the club, because the European money could be beneficial financially again for Hearts, especially because it was beneficial financially to the club last year as well.
Yeah, I think it is so important for them to get that European money. And I wanted to ask Graham, does he think that they've got a real good chance against Split? Because that is a decent opponent to play against. I know that Hibs are playing Aston Villa, but it's a game where you can go in, not be confident, but you can be like the Rosenborg game where you can go, if we play to our best strength, we have got a good chance to. I'm not going to say walk all over them, but you've got. It's like I think it's a tight game.
I think PAOK are a step above Rosenborg, to be honest. They've got a lot of pace going forward. They're actually playing today. I don't know how they're getting on, but it'll be a tough test. But given what we did last week, I'd have been disappointed if we'd gone out to Rosenborg, because I don't think they were a great side. I thought that after the first leg, and I thought we could take them. And to do it the way we did, to come through that tie was fantastic. But I think the first leg being at home on Thursday, again, we'll have a massive crowd. We've got a great chance. But I think it's important we take a lead to Greece and keep a clean sheet. If we can do that, we've got a chance. But this side, I've got pace up front. So it's going to be difficult, but what a chance to get to the group stage again. And the money that Dave has mentioned that we could get from getting to the group stage again, it would be phenomenal. And I think, I've got to be positive. We've got every chance to do it. I think the second leg will be difficult, but if we can take a lead to Tynecastle, if we can take a lead over there and not concede, that would be huge. But it's going to be difficult. And I think, these next few games, I genuinely think if I had asked 100 Hearts fans, if we'd lost today, would you care if we went through in the next round in Europe? We would have said, no. If we get beat today, it doesn't matter as long as we win on Thursday. I kind of get that, but you know what? I've not seen Hearts ever win the League Cup, and I want to see us winning it. Now we've got a chance to do that. Kilmarnock away is going to be difficult, but there's no reason with that squad we've got we can't compete in both. But Hearts is going to be huge.
I won the League Cup 2006. Yeah.
We've not won it for about 30 years.
Oh, Scottish Cup was it?
Yeah, 2012 against Hibs. How can I forget that day? That was great.
I thought the Gretna game was the League Cup. No,
the Gretna game was Scottish Cup. The Scottish Cup final was Gretna, yeah.
Oh.
We got beaten the 2013 League Cup final by St Mirren. We got beat 3-2. I've seen us get to finals, just not win them.
Did Stephen Thompson score that day?
Unfortunately, yes. And Danny Lennon was the manager that day as well. They had 3 shots on target and scored 3 goals. Gutted. Still annoys me to this day that they won that game because they would never have it. Gutted.
Let's go to the other side of Edinburgh. Ian Murray came out in the press this week and says Hibs' only focus is on Aston Villa. You could argue that to a certain extent because Rafe Rovers were very much this game today.
I didn't see the game, but yeah, I mean, in terms of Rafe Rovers, I think the problem is for them is they've built a squad that's capable of doing something this season. And the only thing I would say to you two is, I don't know if that's the best comment to make for his point of view, because then that would kind of spur on the Hibs players to say, look, we are focused on you. But in terms of the Rovers, I think the final score was 2-1, right?
It was, yeah.
So they've probably gave a good account of themselves. They're probably, I would say, one of the favourites to go up in the championship. So, no, fair play to them for doing their best, because it's a big game, that for Lee Johnson, because it's a big win, because, as you guys know, he's doing well in Europe, but he's lost his first 2 domestic games. So if he lost that game today against low league opposition, and I think on numerous shows, including this one, I'm sure there was people saying the Brave Rovers could give Hibs a really good game. So that's a monkey off the back for Lee Johnson, because I think that the best thing about him the last few weeks is talking about all these quotes about lions running off, about Will Fish being a lion, and if a lion was chasing them, how would they react?
Two goals for Hibs, who scored? Ellie Yuan opened the scoring. Carlos Smith equalised, but Dylan Vente secured all the progression for the Highbuys. Do you think Lee Johnson had to win this today, Graham, to kind of avoid fresh criticism from his fan base, or do you think he needed, or do you think he'd have gotten away with it?
No, I don't think they would have got away with it. I think there's a lot of Hibs fans who are still not overly impressed. You know, in Europe they've done okay so far in Europe, but domestically very poor. And I think you'd have probably heard the impatience of the Hibs fans when Ruth was equalised, thinking this could go wrong. But fair play to Hibs, managed to go to the park and score. Dylan Vente, £700,000. There's a lot of pressure on him, but he's managing to score goals. But I think that's a massive win for Hibs today, because if they hadn't won that game, then going into a game against Aston Villa, who've just beaten Everton 4-0, I think he's under massive pressure. And I think, you know, they've got to fancy themselves now. They're at home at St Mirren next round, although they got beaten the first game by St Mirren, so it's a difficult tie. But you can't ask for more than that, a home draw in the next round. They'll fancy their chances of getting to the semi-finals, and you never know. Maybe Hibs are going to be a cup team this season and win the cup. Hopefully not. But I think today was massive. I genuinely do. I think if they'd lost that game, a lot of Hibs fans would have turned on Lee Johnson. And let's be honest, there's a number of Hibs fans who are not overly impressed with him anyway. I think Ellie Ewan's one of these frustrating players. At times he can look amazing, and sometimes he can really look frustrating. His goal on Thursday was outstanding. He's got another goal today. We need to keep him fit. But I think the biggest thing they've got to do, they have to keep Martin Boyle fit, because he, for me, is by far their best player.
Yeah. Dave, I know you've not mentioned it, but have you got the League Cup draw there?
Harshby still. Oh, I'm saying Harshby Stumble comes in here and says, "Gotta go, folks. I'll leave you to be the VAR." Well, we'll get on to that later on the show, because we'll definitely have VAR to go and discuss. Regan, sorry, I was interrupting you there.
I was saying, I know that the quarter-final draw has been made. Have you got the draw to hand?
I can tell you.
I do, yes. I'll just go and get it. It's Kilmarnock against Hearts. I can tell you that first and foremost. It is also Ross County against Aberdeen. It is Rangers against Livingston. And it's, as we've just discussed, Hibs against St Mirren.
That's a good draw. I think probably the pick of the ties is Hibs versus St Mirren. That's where I'll probably go for my quarter-final day out, since Celtic are no longer in the competition. But I think if you're looking at it, it's a good draw for both Aberdeen and Rangers, because as much as you would say that Ross County and Livingston respectively will put up a good fight, you would expect both Aberdeen and Rangers to put themselves in the semi-final. But then you've got a tasty tie of Kilmarnock against Hearts. That's probably the tie of the round. I mean, that is going to be blockbuster. I mean, I know there's a colour on the pie on offer, but I think football will be tasty as well. So, yep, I'm looking forward to it. Have we got a date for those ties, Dave?
Yeah, it's midweeks. It's midweeks, Graham. Sorry, it's midweeks, Regan. It's the last midweek period within September. So,
Oh,
if I'm not mistaken,
26 to 28.
26th, 27th, 28th September.
Yeah.
I'll just mark that in my diary for when I'll head off to the game. Then that's good.
Yep. Graham, just to make you aware that PAOK are 3-0 up against their opponents with 4 minutes to go this evening. So PAOK very much in the driving seat in Greece prior to their trip to Gorgie on Wednesday. And staying behind with today's game, we'll obviously go into yesterday's games in just 5 minutes' time, but staying behind just today's games. For Hearts, Graham, obviously there was a lot of good interchanges with the play. I've seen an interesting topic on social media last night, both referring to, predominantly related to Hibs, because it was a Hibs fan that went suggesting it. I didn't see the true terminology, but it sounded like he got a negative reaction. But it was basically a fan complaining about why a fan should get a ticket for Aston Villa when they don't go and watch them against Raith Rovers. I see a photo of the crowd at Tynecastle today, Graham, and it wasn't as full as it was on Thursday against Rosenborg. Would you argue the same thing about Hearts and Hibs, where if they maybe don't go watch a game against Partick Thistle, they maybe shouldn't qualify for a ticket against PAOK? Or is that a bit irrelevant in your eyes from a fan perspective?
No, I would kind of agree. And I've seen on the WhatsApp chat that I'm on, I've seen a lot of folks say that as well. There was 12,000 at the game today. And I think it's a lot of fans have basically stayed away because they probably thought, it's Kilmarnock, or they're maybe saving up to go to Greece, which is fine. But it is unfair on the fans that have gone today that then don't get a ticket for the game against PAOK. So I can kind of see where folk are coming from with that. I didn't expect today to be a massive crowd, to be honest, because I say after Thursday night, it's going to be difficult to kind of, and again, no disrespect to Partick, but you're playing against a champion team in the Cup. You'd expect it to go through. A lot of folk are saving the money for going to Greece and stuff, which is fine. 12,000 is fine, I suppose. But yeah, a lot of folk are going to miss out on tickets today. And actually, when I went to the game today, there was actually folk queuing outside for tickets for the game on Thursday. There was a massive queue that was stuck in as well. So I can understand where folk are coming from. Today was fine. There wasn't a great atmosphere, to be fair. Again, the Gorgie Ultras tried to make a noise. It's difficult to get people up for this game though, because it was flat at times. But it was what it was. But I can understand where folk are saying that if you don't go to one game, you should get a ticket for the next game. I can see where folk are coming from with that.
Yeah, Regan, what do you think of
that? I get frustrated about it myself because there's some games I go to every game that I can, and then I see people that don't go at all. They don't go to many games, but then they're pictured at the European games and at the Rangers game where everybody goes to. So it's frustrating, things like that. Yeah, I totally get it. But also the same token, it's the John McGinn derby on Thursday, and I think I'm going to try and go along myself. So I can't complain with that.
Can I just ask you guys a question about Hearts here, right? Something that I've thought about a minute ago, actually. There's always been a lot of questions about the whole Frankie McAvoy, Stephen Naismith thing, right? But we've now got 4 points at 6 in the league. We're in the quarterfinal of the League Cup. We're in the next round of Europe. Is it now a massive thing about the Frankie McAvoy, Stephen Naismith thing? Or is it just a case of, Hearts are winning, everything's fine?
I think once Stephen Naismith gets his back...
made it a big thing.
Say that again, David?
I think the media made it a big thing, just in the aspect of what Frankie and Stevie went and said to Luke Shaw and Sky Sports. I think they made it a massive thing. but it was never really an issue probably internally. I think the internal issue was more who are we learning off of. Let's be honest, I think Frank and Stevie will probably have their own lot of views on football and certain things within the game, and they'll probably share the jigsaw when it comes to taking training sessions, doing team talks, whatever have you. Now, I think it didn't seem that way, but I think they were very clear in terms of what they're both looking to do. Obviously, Frankie is more a European point of view. Frankie seems to be more of a coach, but Stevie Naismith seems to have more of a player communication point of view, if you know what I mean. So I think that's where the difference is. And look, Hearts are doing well. They've had a few wins, as you've alluded to there, Graham, and they're in a good place. So as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't be hesitant about the whole thing at all. I would have no issues if I was a Hearts fan at a specific moment in time. But what you will find is if Hearts start getting 4 wins without a win or 6 wins without a win, that's when you'll start seeing people criticise the structure.
I think when you're going through transition as a football club, Graham, like New Year's are going through now, and I think when Stephen Glass was in, even when Steve McLean, it's important that you start off well, because if you start off bad, that's when the pressure starts to build. The important thing for Naismith is that he started well, so then the pressure doesn't mount. But that just shows you how quickly psychologically things can change, and that's all about social media as well. Because social media, as much as I don't like social media plays a big part in modern day society. I've seen social media be able to sack managers with things trending and hashtags. Get Robbie Nielsen out, get Neil Lennon out. I've seen it everywhere. You know what I mean? So I think the fact that more and more Hearts fans are warming to the idea, like you said, you've rounded it off. They're in the quarterfinals of the cup. They're through in Europe. They won their first game in the league. Then they drew against a very good Kilmarnock side. So it's all about dealing with the pressure moment as well. And I think so far they've done that. Dave was saying there, that was probably blown out a little bit by the press. They've probably used the headline too much, and we know the press love a headline. So maybe they've just used that to try and use their ways of making it more of a story than it really is. Because you listen to Dave there, and he's saying about that maybe internally everybody knows who the manager is. I think that's an important thing for the players as well, is that they know maybe the fact that Frankie McAvoy is just doing the managerial role in Europe, says that they're basically waiting until Stephen Naismith his badges have come through. So I think it's all a learning process for them, because at the end of the day, no one really knows until they're in the situation. But what we'd say is they've started well, so that's the most important thing for them.
Okay, was you going to say something there?
No. I just wanted to ask your opinions on that, because again, people talked about the fact that
No.
you look at the whole interview thing that Naismith and McAvoy had on Sky, and it was made a big thing. Where to me, it really wasn't. And we started the season well, so I can't ask for more than that, to be honest.
And we spoke about the style of play. They know that it's Friday.
Absolutely.
Was there a kind of, are you beginning to see a real style of play under them, or is it just a case of last year when they played Hibs, it was kind of like, we're going to play this attacking brand of football, and then Hibs went and beat them 3-1, I think it was. So you're starting to see a real style of play that Stevie Naismith's put in place, or is it still early on in the tenure for you?
I think it's still early on in the tenure for me. I can see what they're trying to do, and the signings that they've made, like I said, Alex Lowry, Vargas, Tagawa, they do want to play more forwards. You know, it wasn't. I mean, today was just very comfortable, but I think in time, when players have got more games under the belt, I think we will start to see that. But at the moment, as a Hearts fan, and I know I'm not daft enough to know that things can't change because they probably will, but at the moment, I'm more than happy with Hearts are playing just now.
Aye, and then see, is the first leg at home or away, Graham? Away.
Home. We're at Tynecastle next week.
That's the next question I was going to ask you. Do you prefer it to be home first or away first? Because for my personal preference, I prefer it to be away first, so you know we're going to do at home. But what should
I would rather we were away, to be honest. Listen, I don't mind the first have been at home because it means if we can build up a bit of a lead, I'll be happy with that. But I would rather the first leg away because, like you said, you know what you've got to do when you come back. It's the same as the last game against Rosenborg. We knew what we had to do when we came back. But if we can take a lead over to Greece, I'll be happy with that.
Yep.
Let's on to Saturday. On to Saturday. Well, VAR very much played its part right at Ibrox, didn't it? Regan, we'll start with yourself. We'll go into the instance. Well, I thought it was a penalty for Morton. I'll be brutally honest with you, I haven't seen the Rangers penalty back because I quite simply haven't had the time to go have a look at it. Poor me as presenter. But by all accounts, I very valid display on the same with Morton.
Yeah, I thought they're quite stuffy. They're what you expect when you go to like a top 6 team in the Premiership. They set their stall. They defended well. They had a real game plan. You can see what Diggy was trying to do with them, and he really set up his team well. But I thought Morton really dealt with the threat well, and I think that's what I said last week in the programme is that I feel like Rangers really lacking pace. They've not got really much pace. Although Kent wasn't really he didn't score many goals last season. One thing he did have was pace, and I think that's something through watching. I know Rangers have brought in a lot of players, but sometimes putting a lot of players in is not always the answer. I think something that they're lacking, especially because when you're a Hearts, Celtic, and Rangers, which when you play low league opposition, well, you know exactly what they're going to come and do. They're going to come and defend, sit back, as Michael likes to say, part 10 buses. So you know what you're going to do. I just didn't think Rangers did their job well enough. They obviously they'll be able to describe the match as a tale of two penalties. Morton get a penalty, and then straight after it, Rangers get theirs. What was your thoughts on both penalties, Graham?
I think they are both penalties. You know, I think Dessers is daft to make that challenge, and it was a penalty. And then the other one, I mean, I feel sorry for Dougie Emery because he must have thought if we can just keep this lead for a bit longer, those Rangers fans will get impatient. We might be able to take something. And then, I mean, Kirk Broadfoot's experienced. It was a daft challenge to give away. To tug the guy back in the box was a stupid challenge when you know that you've got VAR there. And I think the referee got it right. It was a penalty. But it's just daft from Broadfoot. Usually experience. And it was a daft challenge to make for me. And if they hold on a little bit longer, they might have been able to get a win there. Really frustrating for Morton because I thought they were excellent, more than deserved. They could have got to extra time as well. They missed a chance right at the end. They could have got to extra time, but they could be very pleased with what they did because, again, I'm honestly not impressed with Rangers at all. I don't think they looked that great. Again, the only player that really stood out for me yesterday was Matondo. I thought he looked their best player on the park, like he was when he came on against Livingston. But Rangers just don't have that spark just now. And I know it can take time when you get new players in, but they don't look great so far for me. They look very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, they look slow, ponderous. They just don't look. I said that with Celtic earlier, and I know I get people think I'm being negative, but I just think that Celtic and Rangers, I don't think that they're really looking that great this season. I don't know if you agree, Graham. I said this at the start of the show. know if you tuned in, but I just think they both don't look as potent in front of goal. They both look very slow in their build-up.
I mean, I think you look at Aberdeen last week. Aberdeen created chances against Celtic, just couldn't score them. And then when you give away goals to guys like Kyogo, they will punish you. And I don't think either team at the moment looks overly great. And even you go back to the first game of the season against Ross County, Celtic were dominated in that early exchanges by County, but Celtic got 3 goals out of it. So I don't think they're looking great yet. But the worry is that I do still think that they both will be very comfortable first and second. I hope not, because I genuinely, as I said, I think Hearts are strengthened. I think Aberdeen will be okay. I think away from home, Celtic and Rangers will lose a lot more points this season. So hopefully we'll be tighter, but I don't see it. But I think Celtic, I heard Brendan Rodgers after the game, they will look to strengthen further. I think Rangers might again still need to strengthen, even though they're saying about 9 players. You're right, they need to bring more pace in, they don't have that. So it's very early in the season at the moment, but they're not having it all their own way so far. I'm really impressed with what everyone else has done so far. County, Aberdeen put in a good performance. Kilmarnock have done excellent so far. So I think they will struggle away from home this season. But you just know what's going to happen. They'll end up being 20, 30 points ahead of everyone else, and it'll be another boring season again.
Yep. Sorry. In terms of Rangers, it's job done. That's all it is. But if you're a Rangers fan, are you a little bit concerned by 2 things? First and foremost, that they've struggled against a decent championship side, but a championship side ultimately. And secondly, the fact that they've had to come from a goal behind on numerous occasions. I think I read a stat somewhere, but I don't have the stat in front of me. But it's quite an innocuous stat where Rangers have had to come from behind several times under Michael Beale. It's something that probably needs to be eradicated.
Yeah, especially that they're just 3 days away from the biggest game of the season, because you don't want to go into that over your past 2 league performances, because the past 2 performances you've got Morton, who didn't play well in the game overall. And you've got the Livingston game last week, which I thought they weren't great up until about 8 minutes to go. They managed to get their goals, and then you got the first day of the season where they got beat by Derek McInnes side. So yeah, I think you would be concerned as a Rangers fan, and but one thing you wouldn't be delighted with was the fact of that draw and the fact that Celtic are not in the cup anymore. You'd fancy your chances for the League Cup, and also if you're Michael Beale, I suppose I'm not too sure on the era de easy, as they would say in Holland. I'm not too sure if PSV have strengthened that much, but hopefully from a Rangers point of view, they'll be hoping that they can use their experience from last year to really build on what they did to try and emulate it. Because one thing I think people are missing out on, right, is that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, as much as we give him a bad reputation, well, Rangers fans do, right? They say that football wasn't great and stuff like that. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst still got Rangers to the European final, got them through a European qualification last year as well, and he still did okay in the league. I think the whole problem was that Celtic were doing that well under Ange Postecoglou, that anything the Rangers did was magnified, as they say in the west of Scotland. But I think the whole point for Rangers is that Rangers fans, do you think they'll use the Geo yardstick to accuse Michael Beale? Because if Giovanni Van Bronckhorst got Rangers to a Champions League qualification, don't forget they had a Ryan Kent that wanted out of the club. They had a Fredo Morelos who was taken out of the squad a day before the qualifiers. So they were missing 2 of the best players for these 2 big games, and they still managed to qualify. So do you think the pressure will be even bigger pressure this year on Michael Beale?
I think it will be. I think it's under massive pressure. I don't think they started that great. Like you said, they were beaten by Kilmarnock. The game last week against Servette, they were 1-0 down. They were 1-0 down against Morton. A lot of Rangers fans don't have a lot of patience with Michael Beale. I know that a lot of folk said that he was the kind of main man of the Steven Gerrard team, made them tick. I don't know if I agree with that. So far, they've not been overly impressive. They're getting results, fine, but Rangers fans want better than that. I think the signings he's made, as I've said, when you make as many as he has, it's going to take time to gel, but you don't get that time at Celtic Rangers. You've got to hit the gun running straight away. Again, Dessers hasn't been that great. I think Lammers has struggled a little bit, although he looks okay. Sima, Danilo. For me, I still think their best player is Todd Cantwell. He's the one that tends to drive them forward. Got a bit of creativity about them, but they're still lacking something. And I don't think they're great defensively either. I think they're very easy to get at. I think Jack Butland's a good goalkeeper for this level, decent goalkeeper. But for me, they still look way off the pace just now. And again, that Champions League run last season was awful. A terrible run. Don't get me wrong, they had a difficult group. Getting beat 7-1 by Liverpool was not the best. But Rangers fans are going to lose patience. They've got a massive game against Celtic to come as well. And these games against PSV, I know they beat PSV last season, but PSV look better this time. It's going to be, if they don't get through this round, I think Rangers fans will be wanting them gone. I don't see enough about this Rangers team that I think they're going to be strong this season. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get on the next few games. But I generally think Michael Beale is under huge pressure.
Yeah, especially the amount the Rangers brought up back to him, because I would go against the grain and say that when Giovanni was here last year, I don't think they backed him. They brought in Cholak and Matondo. Okay, fair enough, but they didn't really back Gio to the hilt that they backed Michael Beale this summer. I think that was due to the fact that they probably got to the European final and they thought that Ken Morelos would stay. So remember at one point that people thought that Glenn Kamara was going to do well under Beale, but then he's been nowhere to be seen either, Graham.
No, I know. I mean, I think they do have a lot of players that Kamara seems to be on his way out, I think. I'll be surprised if he's not gone by the end of the window. There might be other ones to go. But you're right. They have backed him. $6 million on Danilo, I think they paid. And they spent a lot of money in this window. And they still don't look quite right yet. To lose to Kilmarnock, anyone can do that now because they look a very strong side, as Celtic have just found out and Hearts have found out. But like I said, against Servette, they weren't great. Against Livingston, until they got the second goal, they weren't great. There's just something missing about that Rangers team just now. They don't really have that spark. It may well come. There's a lot against the goal. But I think getting to the Champions League is so important to them and to Celtic. Well, Celtic are in it already. But I think to get to that Champions League is going to be crucial for Rangers. It really is. The money they get for that. But they just at the moment, and even yesterday against Morton, they weren't great. They got the job done, like Dave said, but they weren't great against a Morton side who were very difficult, very resolute to beat, but they really weren't great.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll go on to my team then, Aberdeen. I wouldn't say comfortable. No, I would say comfortable enough, but no, I wouldn't say comfortable. Controlled performance. A controlled performance, 2-1 win. Interesting reaction from Aberdeen fans after this one, because is it a 75-minute cameo where Aberdeen were on top, or was it a Darvel 2.0? You'd think the latter amongst some of the Aberdeen fans. But for me, it's controlled for 75. Maybe a bit of a worry letting Stirling Albion back into the game. Good job done, and that's the most important thing as far as I was concerned. But guys, do you think Stirling Albion were there to be got at? Or, sorry, do you think Aberdeen were there for the taking from a Stirling Albion perspective?
I think Stirling Albion have started the season well, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure you and Graham will keep me up to date, but I'm sure they've started to look well. So I would just say job done and move on. Sometimes we can overanalyze it and go, oh, Hearts are playing East Kilbride today, they should beat them 6-1. Football's not as easy as that, you know what I mean? Like, you can't, like, it's not like you play, see if you played football on paper, Barcelona would have beat Celtic, didn't they? Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes sometimes we can overanalyze and overthink it, because that's the whole beauty of football. Football's like a story that's not written. Nobody knows what's going to be happening. That's why we all pay our money to go and watch, because we don't know what's going to happen. It could be something special, or it could be a terrible 90 minutes. So we I think we pay our money because we want to be entertained. And I think for Aberdeen, sometimes you're going to get games like that. I think after the Dartmoor result, the only thing that was important was that you got through to the quarter-finals. And as I said earlier, you'll certainly be fancying your chances against Malky Mackay's Ross County, even though they've started the season well with their 2 goals against the champion Celtic, and then they beat St Johnstone. So, no, I think the important thing for Barry Robson is to get himself in that semi-final. And I think in terms of the game on Friday, fair play to Stirling Albion, because I'm sure they've started the season well.
Yep, probably job done. But for Barry Robson, do you think the criticism aimed his way is a little bit harsh? Because if you're asking me, yes, he's only had 1 win, well, 2 wins now since taking permanent charge. But at exactly the same time, I think he's got a bit of credibility in the bank, especially after the victory over Rangers in April, and also that 7-game winning run that he went on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is very harsh, the criticism he's got. He's done a great job so far. And listen, it is about getting the job done. These games are difficult. There would have been a hint of thought of, oh no, not another Darvel. And I think, to be fair, to go to a League Two side who have started the season well, a team that went to McDermott Park and hammered St Johnstone 4-0, that could have been a potential banana skin, and Aberdeen have got through it. I mean, I think Aberdeen went very strong side, which didn't really surprise me, I don't think. Very surprised if you're Aberdeen fans, but they've done okay so far. You know, the Livingston game at the start of the season wasn't a great game. I thought they were very good against Celtic. Aberdeen will get better as the season goes on. And I think, you know, Aberdeen fans seem to be just waiting for something to happen and something to, you know, to go wrong because of what happened with Jim Goodwin. But I think he's got a decent squad there. And I think for me, and I've said this on different podcasts as well, Aberdeen have a very good squad. I like Graham Shinnie. You know, I'm a Liverpool fan. I was never that impressed with Reece Williamson whenever he played for Liverpool, but I know he's been injured. I think the big thing for me is in the next 2 weeks, they need to keep Duke for me. They have to keep him because he's so important. Majowski started the season really well. I do think they've got a very good squad there, but you know, I mean, in terms of Aberdeen, Dave, you're the Aberdeen fan. I mean, in terms of the season this season, you've got the group stage football to come. Conference League, which will be difficult. You're now in a quarter-final of a League Cup. What would be your kind of thoughts for Aberdeen this season? And with 2 weeks left in the window, do you think Aberdeen still needs to strengthen? How many players do they need? What position? I mean, what's your thoughts on Aberdeen this season? Do you think they can finish third?
I think it's a bit premature to be judging whether Aberdeen will finish third this season, first and foremost. Regarding the players we need to bring in and what positions, whatever have you. I was making a point to somebody yesterday, actually, speaking after the game on Friday, that our bench is far too young just now. I'll just go bring it up on my phone, the squad list on Friday night. But our squad's very young. Our bench is very young at this precise minute in time. Defensively, needs reinforcements because I doubt Reece Williams is going to be fit enough for Harkin. I was saying before he came on, enough that Reece Williams playing against Peterhead and Aberdeen fans that were at the game were saying that he needed a bit more in terms of match sharpness, which will come naturally as he plays more games. But Aberdeen, of course, aren't playing in the reserve league, so that will come with repercussions probably for Reece Williams. He might need to play a few bounce games or whatever have you. But just what they obviously go and do. But look at the lineup from Friday. Obviously, we played Roos, Devlin, Rubizic, McKenzie. That for me, if you play a 3 at the back, just will not work for Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen will get exploited and have been exploited in the against. That's going to be very, very interesting. But Shady Morris, he's not everybody's cup of tea. That's probably because of some of his performances last season. But I would be willing to give Shady Morris a chance because I think he put in a very good performance last Sunday against Celtic. I think he was one of the standouts. Ryan Duncan, I thought he was very impressive against Celtic. The ball for his goal went under the radar in my eyes. The ball which Duke squared it across to Miovski, that was an incredible ball from Ryan Duncan. Shinnie and Clarkson would be a good midfield partnership. And then Miovski up front, it was a 3-4-1-2. Aberdeen played on Friday, of course. But when you look at the bench, Graham, there's Conor Barron, Johnny Hayes, Esther Songcliffe, Sergio Bijon, Anthony Stewart, Angus McDonald, Jack Bell, or Danja, and Ross Duhan. And goalkeeper probably needed because goalie, I doubt we'll get somebody because Ross Duhan's on the books, and you're not going to bring in somebody else for the sake of getting Ross Duhan. That would be a bit of a waste of wage to a certain extent. The right player, absolutely, but if it's a case of bringing another goal, it's hardly worth it. Because you've got Tom Ritchie, who's a very good goalkeeper as well. Conor Barron. Conor Barron's a bit of an interesting one because he's had a few injury scares, Barron, but he's never quite kicked on after that. So I'm going to predict he might see his appearances a bit limited this season. Hayes, well, we'll know the quality that he has. Brzezowski, he's quite a divisional player with Aberdeen fans. Well, Anthony Stewart, I think you know the story to that, you know the answer to that. Angus McDonald, we all know about him. He came on Friday, obviously, his return from injury. Jack Bell, just a young player, probably needs another loan spell, obviously, probably not ready for Aberdeen's first team. So defensively, need players, probably need an extra centre mid, because White and Clarkson, quite some players that really are mid. He's not a central midfielder, he's usually one of these advanced players. He's more a number 10 player. Well, he's a good player. So, yeah, Aberdeen probably still need 5 or 6 good signings. The guy McGarry will come back in, but by all accounts, he's not match fit at this precise moment in time, which is understandable because he was an Australian. He's had a busy few weeks with the birth of his just becoming a dad. So, yes, obviously been very, very busy. Yeah, I think we need 5 or 6 new players still. I forgot to mention, sorry, that we also Duke and Dante Polvara playing on Friday. But yeah, probably 5 or 6 players to add depth, add competition, but importantly, add quality. But was you going to say something, Graham? Sorry.
No.
Okay. Right. We'll go to what was an exciting game in Airdrie now, Graham. I don't know if Reagan's still there, but we're going to go to an exciting game in Airdrie. What a game. Ross County very much in the ascendancy. But Airdrie come back. But the Staggies, Marky McLean will be breathing a huge sigh of relief when he got up this morning.
Yeah, I mean, that was just what an incredible game. I mean, I genuinely thought Airdrie would cause Ross County problems. It didn't start that way because County started brilliantly. I mean, fair play to them. They took the game to the scruff of the net. But you have to give massive respect to Adrian Rees McCabe. I think he's a very, very good young coach. And to come back the way they did and to take it at extra time, you're thinking, right, if they could get the next goal after extra time, they've got a chance here. But Ross County did it. You know, they've managed to find a way to win. And in these competitions, it's all about winning. You know, like you said, it's about getting through, and they've done that. Fair play to Marky Mackay. Simon Murray is a very good player, you know, and he needs to add more goals to his game. He's starting to do that now. Eamon Brophy gets a goal as well. But, I mean, I feel sorry for Airdrie because they put so much into that game. You're thinking it's 3-3, they're in the ascendancy, but massive respect to Ross County and Airdrie put on a brilliant show. And it sets up nicely for a good quarter-final now between Ross County and Aberdeen. Difficult game to call, really is, but I feel sorry for Airdrie. to put so much into that game and come out of nothing, it's so heartbreaking for them.
Yeah, I know that Rangers and Livingston will be on the telly due to Viaplay usually picking the two Glasgow clubs, but surely the Kilmarnock and Hearts game and the Ross County Aberdeen game need to have at least get some coverage somewhere because there's two good ties, and like you said, what a game it was yesterday, and Rhys McCabe's a great coach.
Sorry. Yeah. I mean, Ross County, they probably lose that game last season. I'm going to be honest with you, because they didn't have the last season. They didn't have a resilience last season. I think they lose that last season. That probably tells you where they're different now.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's maybe needed in a squad where you get that kick up the bum where you need it, where you're kind of like, right, well, we've been to relegation, but we don't want that to happen again. I think Malcolm Mackay's probably used it in his recruitment drive where he's went, right, we need to get the right bodies in, and we need to realise where exactly we went wrong last year. Because I'm sure there's been players within that squad that were down till we went to the manager and said, we need some more bodies in of more quality. Because I'm not too sure, but I'm positive that there's still a few players there from last season and they'll not want to repeat that because, as we've seen with St Johnson a couple of years ago, they went to the relegation playoff, but then last season they were kind of mediocre. And I'm sure Malcolm Mackay will want to have that season be a flash in the pan because he won't want to be in a relegation battle every season. Especially Roy McGregor. I've spoken about Roy McGregor before in this programme. And if Roy McGregor puts his money where his mouth is, and I'm sure he'll back Malcolm Mackay if he sees players that he thinks can make a difference to his squad because he'll make no mistake about it, he'll want to make a difference in the league. He'll not Malcolm Mackay is a manager that's worked at a high level. I know I've wound Graham up before and said he should try and become the Hearts manager. Right. I just know that Malcolm Mackay is a very good coach and I don't think he'll accept Ross County just surviving by the skin of their teeth. He'll want to make an impact in the Scottish League, Graham, and he'll want to make an impact in his cup. But I think it's got all the makings of a good tie this. Ross County Aberdeen.
This will be so for energy to take, as you've alluded to there, Graham. But I mean, they can take so much positives from that. I mean, maybe they can see the goals aspect of it as something they can rectify on. But if they score goals, there might not be any issues for Elgin this season in the Championship.
100%. They started the season really well. You know, they got through their cup draw quite comfortably, won every game. They started the season reasonably well. You know, beat Partick Thistle, I think it was last week, so they've had a very good start to the season. I know that Rhys McCabe got a pretty bad injury last week as well, but they look a very good side. I mean, they to score 3 goals against a Premiership side and take that game to extra time when it looked like the game was done early on. They've got a lot of really good players in that team as well, so you know that will hurt, no doubt about that. But a fantastic performance from them, and it does now beg the question. I actually asked it a while ago as well. Do we think that Airdrie could challenge for the Championship, or is it going to be too much for them?
I do think that Dundee United will have that bit of quality about them. Obviously, we never got to see them in full proximity over the recent times, considering they hadn't played yesterday in the closed door friendly against Burnley. I'm led to believe Burnley won that closed door game 6-0. Obviously, we'll get to see Dundee United in the flesh again this Saturday when they travel to Ayr in the Championship. But I've seen it myself, having been involved in the Scottish War Weeks with Repeat the Head about how we got 7 against them, and that was a very dour night as far as I was concerned. That's all I want to say in the matter. But yeah, that I've seen that day in question how very good they were. Also covered them against Hamilton in that playoff at New Douglas Park, and they were absolutely impressive against Hamilton. They showed their resilience. Because let's be honest, I thought Hamilton were a better side for 60, 65 minutes during the normal time in that game. But then Airdrie got a bit of blood. They scored with 5 minutes to go. And then extra time, they were quite similarly better team, but just never got that goal to really see themselves over the line. And then penalties, Josh Ray, the hero with that. But it's funny because Airdrie alongside of Brough will have the lowest budget in the championship, yet score goals and give sides problems. And see if you put them in a one-off tie against St Johnstone and Livingston right now, I think Airdrie win that, just to give you a certain example. So there is the possibility that they can come out and be successful in that. So, by the way, just to make you all aware that Regan Stevenson has to go. I've been too busy speaking to him in the private chat, but wish Regan all the very best and thank Regan for his contribution onto the show. But, yeah, from an Aberdeen fan's point of view, Graham, I'm a little bit... I don't know what to make of Ross County because I think it is a tough game for us. I'm not going to shy away from it. And we need to have the right attitude to get progression out of this because last season we won the game, but as I've said to you, I just don't think Ross County were in the right frame of mind last season. Marky Mackay was certainly under pressure, but I think Marky Mackay's got a different notion to him this year. And yeah, well, I think when you look at it, it is a potential slip up for us. And I think Barry Robson's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't, because if he wins it, people will go, oh, it's only Ross County. Whilst if he loses, people will go, you've missed a massive opportunity here because Celtic's out the cup and it's a massive opportunity to win your first trophy in 10 years. I think it's an impossible task for Barry Robson to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think there's every chance that could be right. I mean, Ross County, we've obviously got Ross County, the Ross County fan that's in the group chat, and they were 20 minutes away from getting relegated last season. And I think it's a case of we can't let that happen again. And I think they've recruited really well. They've had a very strong start to the season so far. They look really good going forward now. I think they're still obviously a bit dodgy at the back, losing 3 goals to Airdrie, but they do look good going forward. And I think they'll give Aberdeen a real test. If that was at Pittodrie, I think Aberdeen's home form is excellent. If that was at Pittodrie, I think I'd fancy Aberdeen to win that game. Dingwall's a difficult test though, but you spoke there about the fact that it's a difficult one because I think Aberdeen have got a very good squad there. There was a lot of question marks about Jim Goodwin. It didn't really work. Stephen Glass didn't work. There seems to be a mentality change with Barry Robson. He's got Aberdeen playing a certain way. I mean, against Celtic, I thought they were excellent. They just didn't take their chances. I think Aberdeen have got a very good squad. But Aberdeen could go and win this cup. There's no doubt about that. Rangers will be favourites, no doubt about that. But Aberdeen have got a great chance here. And I think as well, the one thing that if I was an Aberdeen fan that would worry me, and it was the same with Hearts last season, is the group stage football. Now, you've mentioned it already, you don't think Aberdeen's squad's big enough. I think those group stage football games are going to be so hard to kind of get from Thursday to Sunday. That's going to be difficult. And that's something that Barry Robson's not used to yet. He's going to have to get used to that. But I think Aberdeen at the moment, they look fine. But I do think defensively, they're going to struggle a bit, I think.
It's not even the fact that the squad's not even that big. You're also taking into consideration that, as I said, I think we've got a lot of youngsters involved that quite simply are bench fillers at this precise moment in time and quite simply need an extra loan move or two to kind of rejuvenate their development to a certain extent. Maybe get a move to a championship club, make them get some beneficial minutes, and obviously work their way into the team. Because as I said, Jack Null was at Kiltie Hearts last season, and Kiltie Hearts weren't exactly the greatest position in League One last season, finished 8th, and Jack Null, as much as he got minutes, at exactly the same time, you obviously learnt a lot from playing against likes of Todorov and Dunfermline and Gallagher for Airdrie and other guy for Airdrie. It's not Gallagher, Gallagher's one of them, but it's another guy as well. The guy Brunel for Falkirk, but you need to play against decent strikers every week, boosting your development, and that's the thing for that. And then there's obviously been a couple of other development players that have came on to the bench or potentially even got minutes in recent weeks, and I think it's a bit of a worry as far as Aberdeen are concerned because as much as it's good that we're relying on the youth academy at exactly the same time, you need as much experience as possible. And that's Celtic. That's something that Celtic are very much crying out for. Also, but when you look at the overall picture, yeah, not sure what to make a Hacken. So, before we go on to the last two games, what's your predictions for the European games? I think Villa will beat Hibs. And I'll say Villa will beat Hibs comfortably over the two games. I think Easter Road could be a bit of a potential banana skin. But I think Villa, when they're playing Birmingham, it will be fairly comfortable. I'd be happy with a draw initially, and then a full house in the front of the Red Army, the Red Shed at Pataudry. I'd be very much confident for that. But I just don't know because we haven't got going yet. We lack a bit of European experience as far as I'm concerned. So has Barry Robson, of course. I may add Hacken are second in the league. They're also no mugs Sweden standards. So I think it'd be a big result. But I'm going to go for a draw in Sweden, and then I'm hoping we'll have enough bits. My confidence levels isn't particularly high yet, especially after recent performances. And Hearts against Payok, sorry. I think Thursday will have a lot to depend on that, but it could be interesting. So, what's your thoughts on the three games?
It's a tough one, really tough one. I think Hearts could win the home game, but it'll be difficult. But away from home, this Greek side are scoring a lot of goals at home. They're a very good side, and I said they've got a lot of pace up front. It could be a hard game. I'd like to say we're going to go through, but I think this might be a step too far. So I think we're probably going to go out. I think Aberdeen, I fancy them to go through over two legs. I think you're right. They may get a draw away from home, but I think they'll win at Pataudry. Pataudry is a completely different atmosphere. I can see Aberdeen winning that game, and the Hibs, I think, to be honest, and this isn't a biased opinion, I think they'll get destroyed. I think Aston Villa will absolutely hammer them. Hibs fans would like to see John McGinn back, but I just think the way that Villa are playing just now, they hammered Everton 4-0 today. Completely different team. They've got a lot of pace up front. They've got a guy Diaby there. They've got Ollie Watkins up front. They've got a lot of quality Villa, so I just don't see anything else but a Villa win. But Aberdeen, I think, have got a decent tie there. I think they can get through that. But I mean, I genuinely don't know because obviously I don't follow Aberdeen a lot. But I mean, are there still some Aberdeen fans that are not overly convinced with Barry Robson?
Find out and make you believe that, especially after how the Stirling game evolved. I'm a big advocate of Barry Robson. I think he's done the management structure the correct way in terms of he's worked with kids for 5-6 years. Derek McInnes took him under his wing. He's had to wait a couple of years after McInnes left. Barry Robson could easily have moved on to come back with McInnes, but he wanted to stay put, and he's been waiting in the wings, and he's learned from some good guys within the game, so he's done it correctly. So, but I'm happy enough. People have questioned, saying why did Dave Cormack not go for a big name? Dave Cormack couldn't afford to get a third management appointment wrong. He got Glass wrong. He got Goodwin wrong. He couldn't afford a third management appointment wrong. Because quite simply, the transparency and the overall togetherness between Aberdeen FC board in terms of the updates that they give supporters on social media would quite simply have been deemed irrelevant by certain sections of the Red Army, quite simply because all Aberdeen fans and any other Scottish football fans for that specific matter worry about would have been results. So you couldn't afford to get a third management appointment wrong. People will go and say cheap option. I get that point of view, but at exactly the same time, he went for what was right for Aberdeen at that specific moment in time. That was where he was at. And what a job addition Barry Robson put up. He basically, Dave Cormack's son, he could have the management job at the club. 20 minutes to go. We're going to look at these games. Don't really need too much looking into, Graham, but we'll focus on them anyway. First and foremost, Livingston 2, Ayr United 0. No, sorry, we'll go to Paisley first, actually. We'll go to Paisley first. St Mirren 1, Motherwell 0. Stuart Kettlewell said before the game that he'd sleepless nights thinking about St Mirren, but so he was right, because God, St Mirren, another very good result as far as they're concerned. And what a job Stephen Robinson's doing. That was another incredible result. And Hampden can very much be on for the buddies.
Absolutely. The job was done fantastic. They're a really good group. Had a really good group stage campaign. Started the league season really well. That was going to be a difficult game. That was going to be a really difficult game. The Stephen Robinson derby, and they've won it. It was a very tight game, as we kind of knew it would be. But fair play to St Mirren. They've got the job done. They're through to the next round, and they'll fancy Easter Road. They've already won there in the league at the start of the season. They'll fancy that game. So that's a difficult game to call, but it's a magnificent result for St Mirren. At this point for Motherwell, because I'm sure they would have probably thought the same, that they've got a great chance to get to the semi-finals here. But again, they had an easy start to the season. They didn't really create enough chances yesterday, I don't think. It was a difficult game for them, but fair play to Robinson and St Mirren. I've already said that I think St Mirren will finish top 6 again this season. They look a very, very strong side. I think they maybe need to add a bit more up front. I think Mikkel Mander's a decent player, but I think they've got a bit lacking a bit of quality up front. They'll probably change that before the window shuts. But yeah, fair play to St Mirren. Another fantastic win, and they'll go Easter Road with a lot of confidence now. They can easily win that tie.
Yep. Good luck saying this one after a night out. Caroline Boyd Muntz scored the winner for St Mirren after 9 minutes. Post of substitutions, post of yellow cards. But apart from that, very little to write home about within the game. But a massive win for St Mirren. I think Stephen Robinson's implemented this no-fear mentality. Go to Easter Road, go to Tynecastle, go to Glasgow, and say to his players, look, we can go here and try and create an upset, but most importantly, get a result here.
And that's the way it should be. It frustrates me at times, and I say this about Hearts as well. It frustrates me at times that we show a bit too much respect to teams like Celtic and Rangers and stuff. Go out there and play your own game. It's 11 against 11 and have a go, and you never know what could happen. And I think he's done that. Robinson's done a great job there. There's probably Motherwell fans that wish he was still there, but he's done a great job. And, they can look forward to this now with a lot of confidence. As I say, they won the League Cup in 2013, beating Hearts. They could easily go to the final again this season, because that Hibs game will hold no fear, given the fact they've already beaten them at Easter Road. It's a difficult game, but you know what? They're getting the job done. They're winning games. They're playing with a real confidence system, and that's the thing as well. Winning breeds confidence, and they're winning games. And at home, they're a very difficult team to play against. We've seen that already. We saw it at Celtic last season. They're a very strong side at home. And they've got away from home as well, they started to get that bit of a, like you said, a no-fear policy. And fair play to them. They look a very strong side again. And that's why I said I think they'll finish top 6 again. It's going to be hard to do it 2 seasons in a row, but they look a very strong side again. And fair play to Robinson.
Mute. Sorry, I'm in mute. I was on mute there. Who have they got next? They've got Aberdeen at home next Sunday, so that'll be the nice night for Barry Robson this time next Sunday night. But, I mean, for Motherwell had a decent enough start to the season. Not spectacular, but they've been decent enough. But I think you've got to take into consideration the budget cuts that Stuart Kettlewell's got, and he's been very public on that. And they were always going to have setbacks, Motherwell, but that was Motherwell's first away defeat, to my understanding, since Stuart Kettlewell came in. I might be wrong if I say that, but that just goes to show you the job he's done at Fir Park.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of folk when they came in probably thought, after Stevie Hamill, was that a good appointment? I think he's done really well. He's done a fantastic job, and let's be honest, when you lose a guy like Kevin Van Veen, who was so important to that team, it's hard to replace him, but they got the guy in was it Max Biertha or something they brought in? I can't remember his last name. But he looked really good against Hibs. He was excellent. Yeah, they were excellent against Hibs last week. Maybe they didn't get a lot of chances yesterday, but they'll come good. Again, I think Motherwell can have a decent season this season. I don't think they'll finish top 6, though. I think they'll finish outside of that. But there's no reason they can't have a good season this season. Again, they're going to be very hard to beat. They've got a lot. I think, again, it's one of these things that when the window shuts, I think they'll need to sign at least 2 or 3 more players as well. I think Blair Spittle is still a massive part of their team as well in midfield. So, yeah, I think they can look back at the season so far and think, you know what, it's been a solid start. Disappointing to go at the Cup, of course it is. But they've had a decent start, and they'll only get better. Like St Mirren, they can only get better.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, when you look at this, I mean, it's a cup tie. I think Motherwell will be well clear, but it'll be how they get on against the sides around about them that'll be massively influential. And the fact that they take off players like Lennon Miller and all that just explains how Motherwell were just a little bit underwhelming in all honesty. So we'll round off our Viaplay Cup thoughts with the Tony McInnes Arena. Livingston winning by 2-0. Before I got into the game, Graham, David Martindale came out and said that there's been some cheeky bids put in for Joel Newbley. Cheeky in the aspect of the value is well below the valuation expected for Joel Newbley from a Scottish Premiership club, I may add. So, if the way I see it, Graham, is if Livingston are wanting £1 million for him, let's be honest, who's going to pay £1 million apart from the Glasgow clubs? Probably nobody.
Yeah, but I genuinely, and I said this on Twitter last night as well, I don't think Rangers Celtic will be the team that are after him. I just don't see them signing Joel Newbley. For me, it's got to be either one of Hearts, Hibs or Celtic, Hearts, Hibs or Aberdeen. Now, I don't think they're going to pay £1 million, which is why I think he basically sent a cheeky bid. I'd love to know what that was. But I think for me, it's got to be one of those teams. I don't think it'll be Hearts, although I've said this before. I would take Newbley. Pace, power, strength. Maybe he needs to add more goals to his game, but he's a really, really good player. I think he would easily fit into a Hearts, Hibs or Aberdeen. So I would love to know who the club is, but I think it is massive to keep Joel Newbley. You know, David Martindale for weeks has talked about the financial budget and stuff. He seems to talk about all the time in his press conferences. And he spoke weeks ago about the fact that he tried to sign 6 players, or he spoke to 6 players and couldn't get them in financially. So I think the money that they would get for Newbley might allow it to bring more players in. But for me, I think it's massive to keep Newbley because he's so important to that team. He scored yesterday, and for me, he's easily one of Livingston's best players. But I think by the time the window shuts, I think Newbley will be gone. Whether it's still covering Scotland or whether it's still covering England, I don't know. But I think Newbley will be gone by the time the window shuts.
Yeah. If he goes, I think it's England or abroad. I know Martindale said to the BBC as well yesterday that there was bids put from Turkey and Greece, I think it was. So it's not just a player that's interested in Scottish or English clubs, he's a player that's interested in clubs abroad as well. That just goes to show you that the player that Livingston have in their books. And Livingston have every right to hold out for as much as they possibly can because he's not just a player that's came in, scored 7 goals and is knocked at the door wanting to move away to another club and thinks he's Bertie Big Bollocks. He's a player that sorry. He's a player that's Livingston over the last 12 months and he's not a player that should be undervalued. So I think Livingston have done the right thing here.
No, of course they have. I mean, every club's got their price. You know, I've talked about the fact that I wouldn't take any less than $5 million for Shankland. I'm assuming Aberdeen won't take any less than $1 million or so for Duke. Every club's got a price. Livingston have put a price on Newbley. If you want to pay it, you know what it's going to cost. And I think, you know, is Newbley a £1 million player? I think he's got a lot of assets, but I don't know if he's a £1 million player yet. I think he's got to improve, but he's still very young. But yeah, Livingston are quite right to hold it for whatever they can. I think they're absolutely quite right. And I think if they get £1 million for him, probably will. You think you're right, it will probably be England, I would think. It's a great deal. It'll be a fantastic deal for him. And actually, something I want to ask you, I'm going to take us back to Hearts for a minute, because I've just thought about this in my head just now. There's been a couple of comments recently made. Now, obviously, Hearts signed Odell Fire, and apparently Aberdeen were after him. And I noticed that Joel Savage came out with the fact that he basically said, and this is a couple of times he's done this, saying that another club has tried to kind of muscle in on Hearts kind of dealings. What do you make of that? Do you think Joel Savage just needs to kind of keep that quiet, or do you think he's right to come out and say that kind of thing when he's talking about that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. He didn't mention the club, did he? No.
No, but a few folk have said it was Aberdeen.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. If Joe Savage hasn't mentioned the club, then I can take that. I absolutely can take that. If he was to start mentioning clubs, I would have a different take on it. I would be saying, look, it's completely out of order for Joe Savage to be coming out and say that. Yeah, he's obviously just speaking the truth. I mean, the fact he's not coming out and basically putting clubs under the bus explains. Yeah, he's maybe criticising maybe how our clubs maybe doing things, but at exactly the same time, he's also looking at ways in which Hearts are looking to do things in comparison to others. So there's no secret at all, Graham, that Aberdeen are going for the same players that Hearts are. But that just goes to show you where both sides are at, because both sides are on hunt for European football, both sides are in European football, both sides are hoping to be in European football until Christmas time, both sides are hoping to be the leading pack in terms of the race for third and fourth respectively. So they're always going to have a little bit of needle between each other, both in terms of on the pack, but also in terms of getting the players they want as well. And I mean, I don't know who or where or why, but I seen a comment on social media, and it was a Hearts post, and an Aberdeen fan had said something about it, and it's completely forgotten to me now what it was about, but it was a Hearts post, and an Aberdeen fans posted it, and a Hearts fan posted saying Aberdeen fans care about us too much, and I do agree. I don't think we should be worried about Hearts. I don't think Hearts should be worried about us. I think we should be getting on with our own specific things and getting on with it. That's where I'm at with the matter. Back on to the game. Livingston 2 0. A comfortable afternoon for Livingston. No any trouble. But Livingston's precarious position they're in, especially financially. They're not going to get a lot of comfortable afternoons this season, I don't think.
No, they're not. And of course, the worst thing they could have got was that draw. Going to Ibrox again, where they just been a couple of weeks ago. It's not the best of draws. They got probably a bit of money for that. They'll probably be on TV. But yeah, I think Livingston are going to have a lot of different afternoons. And again, I like Livingston. I think Livingston are a very good club. They're a family club. I like David Martindale. I like the way he goes about things. But I said this weeks ago, I genuinely think for me, when I made the predictions that I made a couple of weeks ago on the show, I said St John's are going to finish bottom, and for me, I said Livingston are going to finish second bottom because I just don't see enough quality in that squad. And if they lose Nubley, can they replace him? It'll be hard. Of course, they probably can, but it'll be hard. I just don't think they've got enough quality. Bruce Anderson, they're going to have to rely on for goals, who I do like, but they've got to start scoring more goals because they don't look ruthless enough for me. They've got a decent midfield. I think they're all right at the back. I like the guy Oberlai at the back, but for me, they need to create more going forward. They just don't have enough going forward for me, and that's why I've kind of said I think they'll struggle this season. And I hope, as I say, I like Livingston, but I just think they're going to struggle this season.
But this is where the fear comes in for Martindale Livingston, because Newbley will likely be away imminently, and it looks as though Bruce Anderson will be away relatively soon as well, because obviously there was that link from Georgia before the season started. It just didn't come to fruition. I don't know the ins and outs about the whole thing, but there was obviously that. And then obviously at the same time, Martindale has pretty much came out in the press and says the players that are out of contract end of the season are pretty much free to go. Bruce Anderson, to my understanding, is probably one of them. So that just goes to show you, well, obviously, that right, they're not in a good way financially. Not that they've got massive debts or anything like that. They're just sticking within their stride. And that's obviously a very, very good thing to do. But exactly at the same time, that's where obviously that. The worst case scenario for Livingston is Bruce Anderson's obviously had that interest from Georgia. Now, I don't know what the Georgian transfer markets are, but I'd like to think Georgia won't exactly be a Scottish transfer market when it's end of August, because Georgian football will be different to Scottish football. So that's your fear. The fear is that you lose Newbley and Anderson before Halloween. And by the way, that would be a trick, not a treat.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they really can't afford to lose their best players, and I do worry for David Martindale. For me, and I said this last week to Michael on the show, he sounded very, very downbeat. He didn't sound particularly optimistic the way he kind of like David Martindale to sound. He just sounded like he was a bit kind of, I'm doing all I can here. But if they lose Newbley and if they lose Anderson, I genuinely don't see where they're going to go from here, apart from down, which is a shame because Livingston have done a really good job over the seasons. They've obviously kind of played within their means. They spend within their means, which is fine. But at some point, you just worry about them. And if they were to go down, I speak a lot about the fact that the Championship is one of the best leagues in Scotland and the hardest to get out of. If they go down, it's a worry. And I do worry as well. You know, is there a chance, and listen, if you're a Livingston fan, I hope you're not watching this, but I mean, is there a chance that David Martindale might decide, you know what, enough's enough, and walk away?
I think David Martindale would go to the English club if things didn't go well for Livingston. Like if Livingston were on the periphery of relegation, I think David Martindale would start. If the English club did pick up the phone, I think David Martindale could potentially be off at the first possible opportunity. But 4 minutes to go, Graham, so we'll look back at the SWPL 1 results. Today, Rangers 5, Aberdeen 1, Partick Thistle 0, Glasgow City 3, Hearts 3, Dundee United 0. Who else? Oh, it's Celtic 7, Hamilton 1. So a few big results there today. No real surprises at all. For Hearts, probably a big statement and clean sheet, and that's what they've been hoping for ahead of Wednesday. I watched a bit of the Rangers against Aberdeen. I forgot about Hibs Montrose score. That was 4-1 to Hibs. And best was Montrose's Amy Killie because she took a very sore injury in the first half. But yeah, I watched a bit of the Rangers Aberdeen game, and Aberdeen were very much in the game. I thought they weren't exactly brave enough on the ball, but Rangers took the bit between their teeth and they got into their stride a bit in the second half. It's 5-1 was maybe a bit, maybe flattered the Rangers a little bit, but exactly the same time. Rangers showed how professional they are. We're still getting games on Wednesday, so a lot could play out between now and next Sunday, but both Rangers and Glasgow City with potential 100% win records is obviously a good thing to have prior to next Sunday. So that could obviously be a good thing. So no, I think it's going to be another exciting SWPL 1 season this year. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I've not really had the opportunity to go and discuss this because I've had Wi-Fi problems from my own home. So yeah, I'm using this opportunity to go and speak about the SWPL 1. It's great to see Scottish football back, and apologies that I couldn't be on last Friday with everybody. Graham's obviously been doing a great job alongside Michael in terms of the coverage and the overall content that comes out from the locker room. They'll hope to get a lot more press conferences, as I've alluded to on the podcast as well. So, Graham, we've got 2 minutes left. What's your overall conclusion of the weekend? Super Killie go ballistic, Celtic are atrocious?
Yeah, I mean, a massive shock, but probably not a surprise because Kilmarnock are a good side. Hearts delighted. Partick Thistle not great. Hibs scraping through. It's been a decent cup weekend. I think. I do like the cups though. You know, it's a great chance to win something, and it's actually quite nice the fact that for a change, Celtic aren't going to win something this season. You know, I think it's open. Rangers are going to be favourites, of course they are. But what a chance for Aberdeen, Hearts, Hibs, St Mirren. You know, all to have a chance to get to the semi-final, even final. It's a great opportunity, and something's got to change eventually. But, you know, I'm just delighted the way things are going now. And again, European football this week, which is great. Love European nights at Tynecastle. So hopefully, for the Scottish equivalent and for the Scottish coefficient, it all goes well this week.
Absolutely. So that's all we've got time for. But catch us again catch us on Friday, where we'll hopefully be reviewing 3 positive results for our Scottish clubs. So, no, sorry, 4, because I forgot we've got Rangers as well. So we'll catch you then.
The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need.